Now we're going to get down to the nitty-gritty of what Indians are all about.
I still say we Indian people are believers in the truth. This is the way of life that was given to your people. You're born an Indian, you're going to die an Indian. Indianness is a good life. You're facing an Indian this afternoon.
Good Saturday afternoon out there, everyone. Welcome to your number one source for Native American television news, Native News Today. I'm your host, Jason Salzman, from the Muskogee Media Studios here in our capital city of Okmulgee. As we get ready for this next episode, got lots of great things to get to today, so don't want to take too much time, but lots of things going on here in the month of May. And we went recently up to Tulsa to get a look at the continuing legal education seminar that the Creek Nation puts on every year, the CLE, from the Muskogee Creek Nation District Court. A lot on that later. Also, we give you an update on this past weekend's council meeting, kind of break down some of the bills that were passed and some of the highlights from that meeting as well. And as I said, the month of May, very busy because it has been proclaimed Foster Care Awareness Month here at Muskogee Creek Nation from James Floyd. And with that in mind, after we take our first break here, I'll be right back in studio with Holly Dunn with our foster care program here at Muskogee Creek Nation. Don't go anywhere.
Looking for your next 18-hole adventure? Then take a look at Fountainhead Creek Golf Club. Nestled in the beautiful confines of Lake Eufaula State Park, large sloping greens and well-placed bunkers characterize the Muskogee Creek Nation's Floyd Farley designed course and offers a fine test of skill for any golfer. Stay up on all the latest gear and equipment with a visit to our pro shop. Have lunch at the Turn at the Clubhouse Grill. We're waiting to accommodate you at Fountainhead Creek. Give us a call at 918-689-3209 or visit fountainheadgolf.com to book your next round. Fountainhead Creek Golf Club, close to home, far from ordinary.
Okay, we're glad to be back in studio now, joined with Miss Holly Dunn. She is with the Foster Care and Adoption Program here at Muskogee Creek Nation at Children and Family Services. Holly, give me that title one more time.
I am the manager with Resource Home Recruitment and Training with Children and Family.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for being with us today. We wanted to bring you in because, of course, May being proclaimed Foster Care Home Awareness Month, and it's a great thing to be able to bring a lot of awareness to it, but for you, I'm sure it's a big help and something you're thrilled about.
Well, this month is Foster Care and Awareness Month. Chief did sign a proclamation this month making it Foster Care Awareness here for the nation. He has been such a big help in getting the word out there. May 7th, we had an event at the Riverwalk. And he came, he spoke to everyone, he did our introduction. He started out for a great day. We actually, we were with Osage and Cherokee Nation, so we collaborated on that event. So it wasn't only just for us to receive resource homes, but other nations as well. So it was a great event.
Talk about your job, because you are out there trying each day to get more homes, more places for the children that we have in our system. And that's, tough work sometimes. Holly, talk about what we currently have, what we're working with right now in our system, and what we need, really.
Right. Well, we just did a commercial to get the word out there a little more about the issues we're having with receiving homes, or knowing that there are 377 Muskogee Creek children in foster care system in the state of Oklahoma. We're not counting the ones out of state. So we have those 377. We have 12 resource homes that are non-relative placements. So out of those 12, there are only 3 that are open for placement, meaning the rest of them are completely full. At full capacity, we cannot put another child in that home. So right now, with those numbers, it's just been very difficult for people to make the commitment to foster. I know that it's a life-changing event, bringing another child into the home, bringing children into the home for the ones that don't have children there, but we're there to help them. We are very proactive in being in the home with our foster families. They have our numbers. They can call us anytime. But right now, we're having the issue of having that commitment from others to foster. We have adopted placements. adoption seems like the way that everyone wants to go when they do make that commitment, but we really are needing foster homes.
And these children in foster care that currently, that don't have these homes, they're needing it too. So think about the child too as well, and how it can be a life-changing experience for them. And in many cases it is. Holly, what you guys this month, like I said, are doing different initiatives. You already had the event we talked about, but also you guys have been started doing these care bags. Talk a little bit about that promotion.
Well, we teamed up with Muskogee Nation Business Enterprise, and they have the Muskogee and Okmulgee travel plazas, as well as the Twin Hills Travel Plaza. We decided that looking at our needs assessment and seeing what is needed within the office for our children, we decided that this would be a perfect time to get some community outreach for foster care awareness, also bringing in care bags. So the care bags will consist of backpacks or duffel bags for these children that are coming into custody to have the basic needs, the toiletry items, maybe a children's book, new clothing, and we are asking that all these clothes or all our items are new, just like for your own children, you would want, great items for them. So that's what we're asking for. This is happening, it started Monday, and it goes until the 30th. Now, for the people that do donate, we actually have prize incentives, and on the 31st, we're going to draw for prizes. Luckily, some of the vendors with M&BE or the travel plazas have donated items, so we're looking at giving away summer fun packages or stuff like that. So
awesome. Yeah, and that'll be going on throughout the weekend, so you can drop them off at the travel plazas, all the Muskogee and Okmulgee, and then anywhere else to drop them off?
Twin Hills.
Twin Hills. Okay.
And they can definitely come into our office and donate throughout the whole year.
Right.
So.
And anybody out there that's looking to be a foster family, what's the number that they can call and get set up with that?
Definitely call us at 918-732-7869. Even if you have questions about becoming a resource home, the doubt, there's always that issue, but even getting out there and asking those questions, we even encourage people that are already our resource homes that when they see families that are at the soccer field or at church to kind of do some recruitment for us as well. If you see that they are doing great, awesome parents, that we would love to talk to them. And the thing is, we don't only certify Creek homes, we certify all tribal nations. If you have a tribal citizenship card, we would hook you up and certify you.
Great. Well, this is a wonderful thing that you're doing, Holly, and certainly want to do our part to bring so much awareness this month in May and all the other 11 months as well to our foster care needs and also the children that looking for homes. So, Holly, thank you so much for being with us today. We appreciate having you here in the studio.
Thank you so much.
It's more than just an associate degree. It's a life-changing experience.
You'll see a lot of cultural features here on the campus. You'll see a symbol of the mound, which goes back to the history of Muskogee people as being in that Mississippian time period, that mound building society. That really welcomes our students whenever they first get here.
The college in itself is beyond the building, is the people.
They're passionate, very passionate about what they teach, and it shows whenever they're teaching.
The instructors and the administration, they really believe in their students here.
After a couple classes, I began to notice that it kind of felt as if I were returning back to something that had been lost for like a long time. As I learned more about the history of my people, to discover that there were very many great people that did a lot of good things for their people, for their nations, and that those people were American Indian and Native American, it kind of brings out a sense of pride that was not really there before.
There is a future for our people.
Hey, welcome back to the program. Certainly hope that you enjoyed our visit there with Holly Dunn. And as we said, please call the Muskogee Creek Nation Foster Care Program if you have an interest in providing one of those homes. Well, as I said earlier, the CLE, Continuing Legal Education Seminar, put on every year by the Muskogee Creek Nation, doing business in Indian country. This year, once again, at the River Spirit Event Center in Tulsa there along the river. And we got to talk with not only Judge Bigler, but former Judge Moore about the creation of the CLE.
Okay, it initially started, I want to say back in the late 90s, when the Oklahoma Supreme Court had a sovereignty symposium that was a week long. And I happened to participate in that for the Chief Justice. And I went to Oklahoma City to get instructions for that year, and they told me their budget had been cut and they were going to have to reduce the number of days. At that time, I talked with them about, and they didn't want to come to Tulsa, they wanted to do it in Oklahoma City. So I said, well, what do you think about me just cooking one up in Tulsa and have the Creek Nation do it? And of course, they support anything like that. Well, that left me with a problem. You know, I'm not a CLE guy, I'm not an academician on that stuff, so I came over to Tulsa University and had a meeting with the dean. Bill Rice was involved, Professor Royster, Melissa Tatum, the people who taught Indian law there, and Judith Royster, the professor, she's still there, she's the one that came up with the name. Well, at that time we had to do 3 years of putting together a book for the Bar Association to pass on before they would let us be accredited. So I used all the professors on there, and that way there was no problem getting accredited. After that 3 years was up, we were on our own. And it's been going for, as I heard this morning, 14 years now. It's very popular. We initially did it in Okmulgee, and part of our draw was the culinary arts people out at OSU. And then the CLE that we're at today was the first event ever done in this event center. And I actually kind of just had to knock them off high center and make the casino people come over and get this ready for the first one we did here, and it's worked out real well.
We have the continuing legal education, the doing business in Indian country. I think it's the 14th year, and it's 2 days at this point. And it's really all ties together. The first day is talking quite a bit about the historical context, laying out where our sources of law come from. And then tomorrow we'll be talking about the courtroom processes and procedures. But really it's all tied together because just like in the state or federal courts, you would talk about jurisprudence, which is the theories of law, and you talk about procedure as to how to practice in the courtrooms. And really the tribal courts are no different. It's just that we have a different basis for our jurisprudence. The state Oklahoma Bar Association requires 12 credits of continuing legal education in order to be certified each year, plus one ethics credit, and we provide that in 2 days here. But it's all directed towards practice of Indian law, that either in the federal level or the state level, tribal level, and also the international aspects. And it all rolls together in many issues that a practicing attorney might face.
And thanks again to the Muskogee Creek Nation District Court for having us up, and really great CLE again this year. Lots of information passed along there having to do with Indian law, and lots of great people speaking this year. So want to thank them for having us up. Getting back to our originally, as I said earlier, the council meeting was this past weekend. Lots of highlights, lots of legislation that the folks are looking at from this past weekend. So we had an Indian time on MuskogeeMedia.com talking about that. I wanted to share that with you now. And welcome into this edition of Indian Time here on MuskogeeMedia.com. Jason Salzman, along with media coordinator Miss Jessica McBride. And Jessica, we wanted to start this week off a rainy Monday So, a little bit of doom and gloom out there, but we want to bring a little sunshine to our citizens' lives by giving an update on all the things that happened at this past week's National Council meeting, and we have lots to talk about, Jessica. I think the one thing that we lead off with from this past week's council meeting, regular session, is the council house, the amendment for the council house that was proposed to be able to find a way to fund some of the needed repairs to the council house, and as well as having some tax credits, some things tied up to it where it makes it a really good move. But I think that was probably the top thing coming out because everybody has been wondering about the council house.
Right. The National Council passed an appropriation of $2.5 million for council house improvements. Secretary of the Interior Chris Asbell for Creek Nation discussed that we're going to get about $1 million back or potentially $1 million back in tax credits, and that tax credit will also be used towards the council house.
When we had initially discovered this story and things kind of falling apart over there and really really needing the improvements, not just for aesthetic sake, but just the structure itself. I mean, nothing can happen to that place because it's so important to us as a history of the people and the city of Okmulgee, really, and our standing here as the Great Muskogee Creek Nation here in the capital city. But, those were things that we talked about from the get-go. When we were doing the story, we were talking with Chris and others about the fact that there are avenues out there to where this can be saved and we can make it work for everybody. And I think they feel like they probably caught on to one of those avenues, and I think everybody feels really good about it. What was the vote, actually? I think it was unanimous.
It passed unanimously, so there wasn't anybody that voted against it.
Right. Okay, and that might be a tough to answer if you did vote against it, just because on the surface, you really don't want to be seen as the councilman that voted against the council house. But definitely everybody taking a look there and seeing and making sure there's an agreement that everybody could work with. And that's great news, and we'll have more coverage on that as time goes by on MuskogeeMedia.com, Muskogee Nation News, and on Native News Today television program. Moving right along and switching gears, maybe a not such good news, but maybe more controversial, I think you could say. The bill number TR 16-061 concerning the election process. This has been a really hot topic amongst our people from back in November, before the elections, when sort of the amendment came forward to bring in the Carter Center. Now, for the folks out there that don't know, Jimmy Carter has the Carter Center Foundation, which comes in and basically makes sure that elections in places are conducted the right way, and that there's no funny business going on with elections and things like that. At the time, there was a large section of citizens that were like, oh, this is great, we want to see this. Probably about the same amount, maybe just as much, saying, what? We don't need anybody to come in and look at our elections. So it was definitely a hot topic, which brings us to now, and it appears that a substitution has been put into this bill, and it passed, the substitution coming in pretty late, but it essentially takes out the Carter Center, Jessica.
Right. The original legislation formed a committee of 5 members, 2 from the principal chief, 2 from the National Council, and 1 from the Carter Center. That legislation was introduced in March. This substitute bill, which was passed on Saturday, takes that 5th member from the Carter Center and makes it a designee from the election board.
Right.
Now, this board will review the electoral process. They're supposed to have monthly meetings that are open to the citizens. We don't know when yet those meetings will be scheduled. And then they will create monthly reports for the principal chief, the attorney general, the second chief, national council, and the election board, so that they can make recommendations to update our electoral process.
Yeah, like I said, monthly meetings. They'll report to the council quarterly, and a quorum is only it can be established with 3 of the 5 members. So we know sometimes it's hard to get schedules together. But looking at it from a citizen's perspective, you could say, well, let's just put on the glasses of, I'm looking at this and I want to be critical of this, this substitution. I would say, as a citizen, you go, well, we want the election board to designate somebody to look after the job that they're performing. I mean, some people would say, no, we want a third party. We want somebody to come in that's not inside the system to look at it from this is our first day on the job type of deal. We're just looking at your policies, your procedures, and the execution of those. I think that's what citizens that are not going to be fans of this would say, right?
Well, that, and they bring in the question of sovereignty too, and it just that's why this piece of legislation is somewhat controversial, and it didn't actually pass unanimously. It passed 13-2 with Representatives Dodie Barnett and Joyce Deere voting against it.
Have we talked to Joyce or Dodie about that?
We haven't talked to Representative Deere. We have talked to Representative Barnett, and she said that, the election board is a constitutional agency and therefore independent, and she felt like this overstepped those bounds.
Right. And I think, this will be something that the people will talk about, even though it did pass. I think this will be something that the citizens will have a look at, and definitely we know that there will be a lot of opinion on this legislation. It'll be something to look at. But the Carter Center essentially being striked out of the original bill, and it instead being replaced with the designee from the election board themselves. So
there's a couple of other things to note on this too. It does say that the board can consult with an election monitoring service, and it also says that they're supposed to have their final recommendations to chief and second chief in the National Council and the AG's office by January 1st, 2017. So this isn't going to be a year-long process. They've got a few months, to kind of get organized and get things reviewed before they have to make their final determination.
Another thing we're trying to take a look at from this past week's council meeting is some of the confirmations. And what do we have to let everybody out there know about some of the confirmations that came before?
Well, there were two to the One Fire Holding Company board. Glenn Bunny passed 14-1 with Representative Deere voting against it. We've reached out to Representative Deere, but haven't heard anything back. The other one for the One Fire Holding Company board is Tara Branson, and she passed unanimously. Yeah, and from my knowledge of the situations, Mr. Bunny is not a Creek citizen. That may be something. I don't want to speak for Miss Deere at all, but that may be something that's holding that up. And then with Tara Branson, just personally, I've known Tara and worked with her being at NCAI, National Congress of American Indians. I think it's a good choice. I think some citizens, would like to see a little bit more of an open process as far as the confirmation names being put forth and just the process as a whole. That's something that we'll probably need to keep an eye on and see where that develops and whatnot. But both of those being confirmed to the board there, and the One Fire board, I believe, as we've talked to them before, Sean Copeland and such in our interviews before, most of the board is Creek citizens, and I think only just a couple maybe are not. So definitely a Creek representation with that board and a vested interest in the investments they're making for the Creek people. Speaking of one such investment, it will be opening June 7th, the Flying T. So I know they're all excited about that. And Tara and Mr. Bunny coming in at a really exciting time there. So they got lots of work to do, though. There was one more nomination, too. Kathleen Supernaw was nominated back to the Supreme Court. Okay. In our research, she's been on the Muskogee Creek Nation Supreme Court since May 2010, I believe. And that piece of legislation passed unanimously. It's also probably important to note that all of these, except that we've discussed, besides the One Fire Board nominations, will have to go to the principal chief for signature before they are approved.
Any observations as a journalist from the meeting, being there, anything catch your eye or anything that
it was an interesting meeting. One of the things that Speaker Lucian Tiger brought up is, I guess they've been getting questions from citizens about discussing things in the general session, and he did bring up that the committee sessions are held, and that's when they do a lot of the discussions. If you're interested, you can go to those meetings. Those agendas are posted online, or the audio from those meetings are posted online at mcnnc.com, so you can listen to those, or you can listen and watch the general sessions too.
Right. We've posted stories and reported on issues directly from audio from some of these committee meetings. It's a tremendous resource for us And it could be an incredible resource for our citizens, too, that have access to the audio recordings. And you're right. Speaker Tiger's right. In the committee is really when they break down the bills and sort of talk about them, get them ready for the regular session agenda and whatnot. Because I think the thinking there is you don't get to the Saturday and you're there all day long with discussion and whatnot and bringing people up. And, that's kind of what the committee meetings are for. That's why they're segmented and sort of staggered the way that they are.
Well, and they do those interviews, too, with, excuse me, the individuals that the legislation concerns. And so that's when you actually get the discussion and you get council reps asking questions of those individuals to find out whether or not they will vote for or vote against it.
Yeah.
And, another thing to note, too, is on the National Council website, they do have the full legislation. It's a little bit difficult to get to, but they do post it with the agendas, so you can review the full legislation, and then if you have questions, reach out to that representative.
Wonderful. All right. Well, that all of those topics that we're discussing will be included in council coverage in the June 15th edition of the Muskogee Nation News. Also, extensive coverage of these topics on MuskogeeMedia.com, including interviews, commentary, reports, and our social media too. So MuskogeeMedia.com, Facebook, Muskogee Nation News, Native News Today. Stay up with all of it as we continue to bring you coverage of not only the happenings of day-to-day goings on in the Muskogee Creek Nation government, but what they're doing on a regular session at a regular session pace. We are keeping up with all of that. So, and also we've talked about bringing in a not only the speaker, but maybe a different councilman every time to sort of break down and have kind of a post-game show of each meeting so that the citizens can hear directly from their council on how the meeting went and their observations of it as well. I think it'd be a great resource for the citizens.
I think so too.
All right, Jessica, well, thanks for being with me here on this week's version of Indian Time. Always keep it on MuskogeeMedia.com and all of our outlets to keep up with what's going on in the nation, and we'll see you guys for the next one. And again, our Indian Time segments are on MuskogeeMedia.com. We'd love you to go onto that website and keep up with us there. All of the stuff we're putting up on a weekly basis. When we get the news, we're bringing it to you there on MuskogeeMedia.com. It's the only place to find it, other than, of course, our YouTube channel. And look for the links and things to drive you there from our Facebook pages, our Twitter pages here at Muskogee Media, Native News Today, Muskogee Nation News, and Muskogee Media itself now with its own Facebook and Twitter accounts. So stay up with us on all of that, all things going on Muskogee Creek Nation right there. We'll have it for you here. Lots of great things coming up this summer. We're going to take a look into our festival coming up. As we said, we're very excited about that. creekfestival.com for more information on that, as well as some continuing coverage of our health system. Keep you all updated on all of the things and all of the developments there. So for Jared Moore, Devaney Luxinger, all the great people here at Native News Today that make it happen every week, we'll see you guys next time.